Okay, so if you were following the news back in 2020, you definitely remember the Harvey Weinstein conviction in New York. It felt like this huge moment for the hashtag Me Too movement.
Absolutely. A landmark case. Many thought it was, well, settled, done.
Exactly, felt like a final chapter. But here we are because that ending, it got completely ripped up.
Yeah, completely undone.
So today we're really going to dive deep into the chaos, really, that kicked off after the 2024 appellate court ruling just stunningly overturned that conviction.
It sends shockwaves, truly.
And then the retrial in 2025 didn't exactly bring closure either. We got a split verdict, and now, incredibly, they're pushing for a third trial.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today is basically to map out this whole roller coaster. We want to give you the shortcut to understanding, why it was overturned, the strategy in that retrial, and this crazy legal limbo we're in right now.
Right. And to really get why this case is still going, you have to start with that 2024 decision. The appeals court essentially said the 2020 conviction was flawed.
Flawed how?
Because the prosecution brought in testimony from women whose accusations weren't actually part of the formal charges.
Okay, wait, hold on. That testimony, the prior bad acts witnesses, right?
Exactly.
Why is that specific testimony so problematic legally? I mean, doesn't it help show a pattern? It seems kind of vital.
It seems vital, and that's precisely the conflict. In New York, there's this rule, the Molyneux rule, that governs this type of evidence.
The Molyneux, right?
Yeah. It does allow using past acts sometimes, to show intent or motive, a pattern.
Mm.
But the appellate court decided the trial judge went too far in the first trial.
Too far how?
It basically turned into character evidence. It wasn't just about pattern. It felt like character assassination. The court felt it unfairly swayed the jury.
So making them think he's just a bad guy rather than proving these specific crimes.
Precisely. Proving them beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense argued, and the higher court agreed, that this denied him a fair trial focused only on the charges he was actually facing. It's a huge legal distinction. It reset everything.
Wow. Okay, so a major legal win gets wiped out over fairness concerns, even with all the emotional weight of that testimony. So what was the prosecution's game plan then going into the 2025 retrial? What could they even do?
They had to start completely fresh. And the atmosphere, you can imagine, was incredibly tense. Proceedings kicked off in April 2025. You have Weinstein, 73 years old by then, appearing frail, often using a wheelchair.
The stakes were immense.
Couldn't be higher.
Okay.
He's already serving time for that California conviction, 16 years. But his appeal there, heavily tied to what happened back here in New York.
Right. And jury selection must have been critical.
Absolutely crucial. They ended up seating a majority female panel.
And key point, the prosecution had to be laser focused this time, right? They couldn't bring in that broad prior bad acts stuff again.
Exactly. Couldn't risk derailing it again. So they focused only on the counts that were legally solid after the overturn.
Which were what, specifically?
Well, the core of it really boiled down to three central allegations.
Right.
You had Miriam Haley's testimony, which was central. Then Jessica Mann's accusation of rape from 2013. And they also brought in one other accuser, alleging forced oral sex back in 2006. Those were the pillars of the case.
And thinking about the legal tactics, I remember the use of expert witnesses seemed really prominent this time. Haley and Mann gave their testimony, vivid, painful.
Right.
But the prosecution layered on these experts talking about trauma response. Why was that such a key move?
It was really a direct counter. They knew the defense strategy. It heavily relies on attacking the victim's credibility.
Like, why didn't you report sooner? Why are there inconsistencies?
Exactly. Or, and this was critical here, why might you stay in contact with your alleged abuser after an assault? It seems counterintuitive to many jurors.
So the experts explain the psychology.
Yes. They used clinical evidence, research on trauma, to basically normalize those reactions for the jury, to show that, psychologically, those seeming inconsistencies are actually common responses to trauma.
Okay, that makes sense. Setting up the big clash.
Right. Prosecution paints him as a predator using Hollywood power, backed by trauma science. Defense says, nope, consensual. Look at these inconsistencies. You have to have reasonable doubt.
But here's the thing. If the trauma experts were meant to explain away inconsistencies and they still didn't get a full conviction, does that mean the strategy didn't quite work? Or was there just too much doubt?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the fractured verdict really forces us to wrestle with that. Because after all those weeks of testimony, the verdict came back in June 2025, and it was messy.
Yeah, definitely not clean cut.
It suggests the strategy worked, maybe, partially, but clearly hit a wall of doubt on the most serious charge.
Let's break down that outcome because it really leaves things up in the air. 3 parts to it, right?
That's right.
First, they found him guilty of a criminal sexual act against Miriam Haley, so that one's stuck.
Yes, that conviction stands for now.
Second, he was acquitted on another charge. They didn't specify which one publicly, I think.
Correct. One acquittal.
And then the third part, the big one, a mistrial regarding Jessica Mann's rape charge.
And that mistrial is the huge legal complication here. A mistrial happens when the jury just cannot agree. A hung jury.
Hopelessly deadlocked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Reports surfaced almost immediately about serious tensions, pressure cooker environment in the jury room. It means they were fundamentally split, maybe 6-6, 7-5, something like that. We don't know for sure, but they couldn't reach unanimity.
So the most serious accusation, rape, is left completely unresolved.
In legal purgatory. The split outcome, yeah, it stunned the courtroom.
Yeah.
After all that, the main charge is just hanging there.
Which must be incredibly frustrating for everyone involved. So what does that actually mean, practically? A mistrial on the Mann charge. He's convicted on Haley, but the big one is undecided.
It means everything grinds to a halt. Total legal limbo. Normally, after a guilty verdict like the Haley one, sentencing follows pretty quickly. It was initially set for September,
Right.
but the judge postponed it.
Indefinitely.
Why, if he's guilty on that one count? The legal thinking is you can't really proceed to sentence someone when the overall criminal case tied to that original indictment still has a major unresolved count outstanding. The Mann charge. They have to figure out what happens with that first.
Okay, so the whole system is paused until the state decides. Do we try the Mann charge again?
Pretty much. And the prosecutors, well, they didn't wait long.
No, they announced almost immediately they would retry him again on the Jessica Mann charge.
That's right. Which opens up this whole other dimension. Resources, witness fatigue, the whole legal strategy again.
Yeah, the burden of another trial.
And the judge seems keen to move quickly, pushing for this third trial to start before the end of 2025, trying to inject some urgency.
But Weinstein's team must be fighting that hard.
Oh, tooth and nail. They're filing everything imaginable, motions to dismiss, arguing for long delays, basically saying a third trial is unfair, it's legal overreach, especially given his age and health.
Sounds like a strategy of just wearing everyone down. Delay, delay, delay.
It absolutely looks like an attrition strategy,
Mm.
but there's a really crucial piece here that makes a simple deal unlikely.
What that?
Weinstein himself.
Yeah.
He is reportedly adamant, absolutely insistent, that he will never plead guilty to the Mann accusation.
Never.
Never. So if he refuses to plead guilty, there's probably no plea bargain acceptable to both sides.
Yeah.
Which means if the judge allows it, we're likely looking at another long, expensive, intense courtroom battle, a third trial.
Just think about the timeline here. It's wild. A 2020 conviction,
Gone in 2024.
then a 2025 retrial, ends in a split decision,
Yeah.
a mistrial.
And now the push for trial number 3, all before potentially 2026.
This case is just constantly evolving, setting precedents as it goes. It's far from over.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, beyond just Weinstein, this whole saga is so critical. Its outcome, how it finally resolves, could genuinely reshape how the American justice system deals with powerful figures accused of sexual violence. Well, the legal reasons for the overturn, the rules about evidence, the precedent set by allowing or not allowing repeated retrials, it all speaks volumes about where the standards are shifting. Standards of evidence, witness testimony, ultimately what we define as justice in these really complex, high-profile situations.
Yeah, it has huge implications. Which brings us to a final thought, something for you, our listeners, to really mull over. You have this immense cost of continuous trials, the defense fighting hard for delays, the judge pushing for speed, Weinstein refusing to plead. What are the deeper legal and, frankly, ethical questions here about pursuing retrial after retrial in cases like this? Is there a point where this search for justice just becomes overshadowed by legal exhaustion? Something to think about as this story keeps developing.